you one thing. In the studio here now, we've got Hayley Palmer, we've got Aidan McGee, and I'm going to start because she did talk about Harrison Ford there. Obviously, he got his Lifetime award there, but you wanted to talk about Harrison Ford from a very different perspective.
Yes, I did, because I saw in the paper this week he was pictured with his beautiful wife, and they've been married for 13 years, which is a lifetime in Hollywood. And he says the key to a successful marriage is that, well, he says that he just be quiet and just let her do the talking, which is great advice. Did you say that, Phil?
I'll second
there
that.
We go. And also,
usually it's not a choice. It's usually just that. Just is how it happens.
But you love it, Phil, don't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Of course, Phil can never get a word in edgeways. It's rubbish. He's always chirruping up. You were like that parakeet.
Wow. Okay.
No, but what he said was, and this is interesting, this was the bit I thought you were going to get to, Hayley. It was once he's done all his chores, he then is allowed to go out.
I think that's a really good idea. Like, my parents, bless them, have been married for nearly 50 years this year, and my mum sometimes writes some chores for my dad to do, and then he has to tick them off, and I think actually that's an inspiration to us all.
Phil,
I have loads to do every day. Don't you worry about that, Hayley. I have loads to do. Loads.
You can't name them. Aidan, can you name your chores? Because obviously Philip doesn't know things like
I do a word
load the
document every
dishwasher.
week of things to do. Hayley's actually seen it.
I have seen it.
Yeah, and I shade, every time I get a job done, I shade it out in red.
It's very organised.
I call it spilling claret.
Can I just say, through an innocent question, I found out a lot more there, Phil, didn't I? How has Hayley seen
I saw it in the office, here.
Well,
he's got it in his laptop. Yeah.
Things like
it's a good comeback.
It is. He's just sat there with his laptop every week.
I thought you were going to say, Hayley, that Harrison Ford was saying that the secret to a happy marriage is to marry somebody 22 years younger. I thought that's what you were going to say was the secret to a happy marriage.
You never know. Maybe younger is the way forward. Who knows? But I think it's organisation, and I think chores is a good way forward because, you know, we need to be, don't we?
I have loads to do.
Like what? Tell us what you have to do, Phil.
Everything
like
around
hoovering,
the house.
washing up, drying up.
Well, putting the things in the dishwasher. that counts, doesn't it?
You know what? We'll take that.
On a Thursday, I'll pluck my nose.
I'm going to things to do. Man City now must be looking at things to do, and that is get that title, isn't it?
You know what? They could win it without kicking a ball today. If Nottingham Forest beat Arsenal at the
Is that going to happen?
Yeah, I think it could do. No, Arsenal have lost form completely. I mean, some would say they've bottled it. I would say not. Yes, they have in a way, because you could say that even allowing for the games they're expected to lose, they lost other games again. Well, they dropped points against Southampton. They dropped points against West Ham.
The manager was sounding quite defeatist when I was listening. Don't ask me why, but I was listening to on the radio like, oh well, they've done well to get this far. No, he should be saying, get out there.
You've got to
win.
You've got to look at it from his point of view. They've been top of the table for 2/3 of the season. I don't think it's ever happened before where a team's been at the top and then usurped towards the end. But I did say on this show repeatedly, in a season when the World Cup is in the middle of it and the fixtures are Constantine on either side, it would be the squad that matters at the key time. And if they can win the league today without kicking a ball, i.e. Forest beating Arsenal, that leaves them clear to concentrate solely on the Champions League final. They're going to win the treble, I tell you.
I mean, never mind the Premier League. Who's interested in that? It's all about the playoffs. It's all about the playoffs, Aidan. I mean, midweek we had Sheffield Wednesday who came from 4-0 down from the first leg to beat Peterborough on penalty. Most amazing tie. And of course, the big sporting action this weekend is taking place in Carlisle.
You're playing,
today, 3 o'clock. When Bradford play Carlisle in the second leg of the playoffs.
Well, I would have said the big one was the battle for 4th place between Liverpool, Aston Villa. I would have said
that's in Man United's hands, isn't it?
Oh, come on now.
4th position.
I think United will get it because it's in their hands and their fixtures don't look too bad. But it's going to have repercussions for Liverpool, this, because if they want to rebuild their squad in the summer, it's much more difficult to entice players when you haven't got Champions League football.
But are Bradford going to get to Wembley? That's the question everyone wants to know.
Yeah.
Stormzy.
Yes, I love this story because it's very relatable for me. The actual fact that he had a Lamborghini is not relatable to me, but he got actually stuck outside the Grosvenor Hotel this week. He was coming up the Ivor and the Vela Awards, and it was between 2 cars. So I guess he must have thought, should I go and ask for help or not? And he had to actually go and get the Grosvenor staff to come and help him, which is a little bit embarrassing, isn't it?
Stuck, or did he just need help to get?
He needed help to actually get out from the 2 cars, so they had to get the other car removed. But talking of car stories, I've got to say that I've got some really embarrassing car stories, but one that does spring to mind is that I was driving up to London from Portsmouth in my little Vauxhall Astra, once back in the day, and smoke started coming out of the bonnet, and I was like, my goodness, what I'm going to do? It's outside Harrods, and I was just like, this is embarrassing. So I had to pull over, literally ring the fire brigade, and I've never been so humiliated.
It sounds like the water pump. Is that what it was?
Oh, it's a bit late to tell me now.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to say, this is...
But the fire brigade did come up with their own water.
It is embarrassing.
I enjoyed that.
It is embarrassing to admit, but I once ran out of petrol on the M62, and my car had just been in for a service, right?
Yeah.
And I was driving. I was driving along, and the car just conked out, and I was playing hell with the garage, thinking, what have they done to my car? I've already just picked it up. Pulled over, it was absolutely lashing it down with rain, and the fella from the AA came out, and he's in the pouring rain. I'm just sat in the car, he's in the pouring rain.
Bovril.
And he said, I'm not being funny or anything, but you haven't run out of petrol, have you? I said to him, don't be ridiculous, of course I haven't run out of petrol. So he spent another 10 minutes looking in there, and he came back and said, and I had run out of petrol.
No,
that is
and you've admitted to that on live TV.
I know.
Yeah, we're not going to let you live that down.
There was one thing I want to do, because a little bit earlier on, we did put out a Twitter poll asking, do we have too many foreign students coming into the UK? We've got the result now on that poll, because we had a big discussion on it earlier. Well, I can tell you that almost 78% of you say there are too many foreign students in the UK, with just over 22% saying no. And I've got Paul here saying the TV chef, that was Kevin Woodford, was 100% correct. It's all about the universities functioning as a business with no regard to the country. The main beneficiary of this is overpaid heads and professors.
I benefit
Too many
out of it
people
nicely.
coming
That's my
to
business.
the country.
I rent to students, loads of them, most of them from Africa.
It's your fault, is it?
No, kind of. My property's good.
Aidan, what I could tell you, there's lots of people in this country looking for accommodation. You wouldn't have to give it to students, and that number is surging to 600,000.
But they do pay more.
And Anthony here says, while students coming from abroad is good, there has to be a limit. And on bringing their families, if the student is coming to study and improve their lives, surely it's worth the sacrifice of not being with their families for a few months a year. They can always go home during the holidays. And I'm with you, Anthony. Why do we have to have 150,000 dependents?
I'll tell you something here, right?
Well,
I have...
we'd like to, but
we don't want to.
we haven't got time. We're going to have to draw.
Hey, was just about to tell you how much a month it is for rent out one of these properties.
We don't want to know. Aidan, Hayley, thank you so much indeed for being on the show today. That's all we've got time for. We'll be back at 10 a.m. next Friday. Stay tuned to GB News, because coming up next is GB News Saturday with Dawn Neeson. Stay tuned.